Okay, sorry about that. I muted my mic and I forgot to unmute it. Classic. Okay, anyways, as I was saying, good evening to you and thanks so much for joining us tonight on Unscripted at 6:30. Let's kick off with weather now that my mic is operating properly. So Trevor, today was pretty similar to what we saw yesterday, another day with very gusty winds and a lot of snow falling. So will Wednesday be another similar day? Will we get the heat?
A pretty similar set. I would say the one difference with tomorrow is I don't think we'll have as much widespread snow. Today we had sort of widespread snow with a system coming through warm front that gave us some more widespread snow and wind. Tomorrow it will still be windy, but out of the northwest, and so with a northwest wind, we know by now that means, well, lake effect snow is going to return to the forecast. So some of our snowbelt regions could see higher amounts, potentially up to ½ a foot or more, especially in the eastern upper where we're tracking the most snow. But outside of that, a little less, probably no more than an inch or two. But again, still very windy, so you can't discount any amount of snow whenever there's wind involved, because that leads to drifting snow, which kind of distorts the totals, if you will, by perception, and also leads to very low visibility. So I'll talk about that, and also looks like we're going to have some sunshine returning to the forecast by the second half of the week. I'll talk about both of those things in just a few minutes.
All right, thanks so much, Trevor. And before we get into our first story, I just want to say something. I'm probably going to be a little more scripted tonight than unscripted, because a lot of the topics that we are talking about tonight, I don't want to ad-lib. I don't want to get any facts wrong, because they are very important topics. And so let it just be known that although our show is called Unscripted, let's kind of take the un out, and today we're going to be a little more scripted. So here's our top story tonight. Last week, the acting secretary of the Department of Homeland Security reversed guidance that restricted federal immigration agencies from making arrests in sensitive locations. Now, these sensitive locations are places like schools and churches. State departments here in Michigan are advising what to do at the local level if ICE raids do happen here. Here is Allie Baxter with that story.
These images were posted to the Detroit Bureau of Homeland Security Investigations X page, explaining agencies are, quote, working to apprehend immigration violators in Michigan and Ohio.
They're trying to deter people from coming, and they're trying to send notice to people here, that this could be happening to them.
In an interview on ABC this week, Michigan Senator Alyssa Slotkin addressed the reversal of a policy that prevented ICE agents from going in schools and churches.
If the focus and the priority is on criminals, I'm not sure going after an 11-year-old is where you start. And I don't believe it that most Americans think that 11 and 12-year-olds are the ones who are the hardened criminals that need to go back to their countries.
In a memo to Michigan school districts, State Superintendent Michael Rice cited a Supreme Court ruling that confirms, quote, all children, regardless of citizenship and immigration status, have the right to equal access to a free public education. And as educators, we have a responsibility to protect that right. We're told multiple school districts across northern Michigan are addressing this with staff. None wanted to talk on the record about the guidance they issued.
The idea of going into children and terrorizing children, I just don't believe in supporting that kind of action.
In a letter to Catholic churches across the state, bishops pledged amid uncertainty to offer, quote, unyielding support and respect for the human dignity of all migrant people in our midst. In northern Michigan, Allie Baxter, UpNorthLive News.
And Immigration and Customs Enforcement says more than 1,000 people have been arrested since Sunday. Moving on to another story that has kind of been back and forth today. So not too long ago, probably just within the last hour, a federal judge has temporarily blocked a Trump administration freeze on federal grants and loans that could total trillions of dollars. The U.S. district judge blocked the effect literally minutes before it was about to go into effect. Now, the administrative stay pauses the freeze until Monday. So what the White House had planned to do was to start the pause this evening as they begin an across-the-board review of federal spending. It has sparked mass confusion from a variety of programs that rely on this federal money. And Matt Galko has a closer look in tonight's Waste Watch.
A Monday night memo from the Office of Management and Budget called for a blanket temporary pause to federal grant and loan programs starting Tuesday evening. The memo reading in part, the use of federal resources to advance Marxist equity, transgenderism, and Green New Deal social engineering policies is a waste of taxpayer dollars that does not improve the day-to-day lives of those we serve. It led to confusion among organizations and anger from Democrats.
In an instant, Donald Trump has shut off billions, perhaps trillions of dollars that directly support states, cities, towns, schools, hospitals, small businesses, and most of all, American families.
Social Security and Medicare were excluded from the pause, along with programs providing direct payments. An update Tuesday from OMB gave more specifics. Reading in part, funds for small businesses, farmers, Pell Grants, Head Start, rental assistance, and other similar programs will not be paused. SNAP benefits were also excluded.
What does this pause mean? It means no more funding for illegal DEI programs. It means no more funding for the Green New scam.
Congress determines how taxpayer money is spent, and multiple organizations rely on it to operate. Some Republicans back the move as standard for a new administration.
I suspect what's happening is something most Republicans would be supportive of. Again, a lot of these programs are not things that we agreed with, that we voted for originally.
While Democrats questioned the legality of pausing promised money.
No one voted to wake up this morning and wonder whether their child would get the care they need, wondered whether or not their parents would be kicked out of a nursing home.
A coalition of nonprofits and health groups have already filed a lawsuit looking to stop the temporary pause, saying even a slight delay in funding could have devastating impacts. Reporting in Washington, I'm Matt Gelka.
And again, I just want to reiterate that a U.S. district judge did block the action just minutes before it was set to go into effect, and the administrative stay pauses the freeze until Monday. Now, our reporter Cody Bear is joining us live now from our content center. And Cody, you talked with multiple local nonprofits today about how a potential pause could impact the services that they provide to the community. What did you learn today?
Yeah, so I spoke with both United Way of Northwest Michigan, and I really spoke to them a little bit about their program, United We Smile in Traverse City, which is a dental program that offers free dental visits for certain groups of people, such as children, pregnant women, veterans, children with development and cognitive disabilities. And then I also spoke with the Women's Resource Center in Traverse City about some of what they offer and how it can be hit. And right now, the biggest thing I'll say that I learned is mostly there's a lot of uncertainty. And right now that uncertainty, of course, is only added with this freeze being paused until Monday. And then we'll see what happens from there. But there's the uncertainty of exactly what's getting hit. Are they getting hit? Will they be affected? And they know that there will be an impact, but they're not totally sure where yet. So that's the biggest thing, is there's a lot of uncertainty right now for each of these local nonprofits.
Sure. And do you know how these nonprofits that you talked to, how did they find out about this? Were they sent any sort of prior letter before this came out in the news or anything like that, or did they find out from the news?
So they found out mostly from the news or the White House memos like you may have or I have. You know, it's not necessarily a letter being sent, to these nonprofits or these groups that are going to be impacted saying this is coming, this is where it's going to hit. They found out, either through a White House memo or through the news reporting on the White House memo on this. So they found out similar to how you or I may have.
And so at this point, they're kind of just left without any answers as to what's next.
Yes, it's a lot more questions than answers. And the way that they're being impacted is different. The Women's Resource Center of Traverse City, they receive $600,000 annually of federal and state grants. One of them is a $300,000 grant that really focuses on cracking down on domestic violence and ways of supporting that. And the way that they'll be affected by this, if it does end up going through after Monday, we'll have to see. But if they do end up being affected, it's going to hit their staff, because that's a lot of money towards that, where it would go to staff. And they say it would be devastating to lose some of that staff. Meanwhile, for United Way of Northwest Michigan and United We Smile, it's entirely different. They're looking at a totally different thing. Right now, the facility of their dental care office is being leased, and they're looking at loans to buy that facility so that they can pay that way instead of continuing to pay on the lease. But the ways that they're looking to do it could be affected by this pause. So that, it's completely different ways for everyone, and it does leave each of them with more questions than answers at times.
So what were the emotions of the people that you talked with today?
Yeah, it's emotional right now for them, because these nonprofits, it's their passion. Their passion is to help people. And their emotions right now are just, they're devastated at the possibility, right? There's still hope, and there's still, you know, that fight on kind of aspect of we're still going to be here. Both of them made sure to say we're not going anywhere, but there's that emotion of the potential devastation that if they can't buy that facility, they're not totally sure what happens to United We Smile. And then for the Women's Resource Center of Traverse City, it's if we can't pay our staff, we're not going to be able to take as many calls. Right now, the Women's Resource Center, they told me that they take 5,000 calls a year from people, and 1,000 of them are people in an active crisis when it comes to domestic violence. So if they don't have as many people on staff, because they are 24 hours, if they don't have the people on staff to take those calls, it really affects people, and it affects their community, and their passion is to help their community. So that's where the emotions were right now.
Sure, and as you mentioned, just uncertain times for these two nonprofit organizations you talked to, but all of the public and private entities that rely on federal money to provide these services for the people that they serve. And so, Cody, anything else that you want to mention? I know you're going to have much more on this tonight at 11 o'clock, so you don't want to give away your entire story just yet, but anything you want to mention right now?
Yeah, there's a couple things, you know, worth clarifying with the entire umbrella, which is the White House made sure to say today, the press secretary made sure to mention that this shouldn't hit people directly. You know, no direct funding from the government's going to hit individuals. It's just through these different things. So it depends on how you look at it, directly versus indirectly, how people will be hit through maybe a trickle-down effect. But even with that, the biggest thing that I want people to know, and you'll hear more from these actual people speaking on behalf of themselves at 11, they're not going anywhere. You know, the Women's Resource Center of Traverse City has been here for 50 years, and they plan to stay here for the next 50, they told me. And meanwhile, United We Smile, they're going to keep working and working to, even if they can't buy that facility, they're going to find other ways to help the community. So no matter what happens, there's still that kind of uncertainty right now, especially with this being paused until Monday, and then we'll see what happens there. Right now, through the uncertainty, they just want to make sure everyone knows they're not going anywhere. They're still going to be here working to help their community.
Absolutely. All right, Cody, thank you so much for joining us, and he will have much more on that tonight on Up North Live News at 11, so be sure to join us then. But let's turn things over to our question of the day related to this. So do you agree with the Trump administration's order to pause all federal loans and grants? You can scan the QR code on your screen right now. That'll take you to our website where you can vote. We have 526 votes as of right now, and 58% are voting no, they do not agree. 42% are voting yes. And now, usually at the end of the show, I'll read some Facebook comments. We have 231 Facebook comments on this post. I think this is the most we've ever had on our unscripted question of the day post. So what I'm going to do is just kind of remind everyone, if you're watching on your phone, maybe on Facebook, YouTube, or X, you can leave a live comment. And I'm going to take a look at those live comments first before I start scanning through all of the 231 Facebook comments. If you're watching on ABC at home, you can pull out your phone, head to our Facebook, YouTube, or X page, find this stream, and leave a comment there as well. We want to hear from you. We want you to vote and let us know what you think about this. And again, our reporter Cody Bear will have much more on how some local nonprofits are feeling tonight on Up North Live News at 11. But let's take a quick commercial break now. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Our meteorologist Trevor Robideau will have much more on the forecast for the rest of the week. Is more snow on the way? All of that you need to know coming up next.
I'm Jada Johnson from Big Boys TV, and the Fish and Game Report is sponsored by Johnson's Propane.
All right, welcome back, everyone. If you are tired of all of the snow, well, just remember that you're living in northern Michigan and it is January, so it's pretty expected. But I know I wouldn't mind a little break. It seems like for the past couple weeks, we haven't really seen much of a break at all. So will we see any sort of break anytime soon, Trevor?
Yes, we will. As a matter of fact, later this week, and by later this week, I mean just a couple of days, we have, in my mind anyway, one more day of pretty messy weather. Tomorrow, we still have the wind around. Lake effect snow flows back into the forecast, so you'll have to deal with snow squalls at times, ongoing lake effect snow, low visibility, poor traveling conditions for some, especially in the northwest snowbelt regions. And then by Thursday and Friday, things finally clear up, and it looks like we're going to see the most sunshine, I would say, we've seen in months.
Wow.
So, yeah, it looks like maybe a full day of sunshine on Thursday.
Oh, my gosh.
Or at least almost a full day for almost everybody, which is something we haven't said in a long time.
A very long time.
Is it summer already? No,
Yeah.
no, it's late January. We'll take a look at our weather headlines this evening. The purple shaded counties in the eastern upper and along the tip of the mid are winter weather advisories. Those will go on until 8 o'clock tonight. So but just about an hour from now, those will end. And then there's the surface map, low pressure. The ensuing system that we had today came from a warm front along with the gusty winds out of the west and southwest today. That's going to file off to the east and exit stage right. And then the cold front is going to slip in behind that. And that'll give us, for one, a change in wind direction, 2, colder air, and 3, lake effect snow. There's a look at the wind gusts. Obviously very windy today, especially in areas west of I-75, and still windy along and south of US 10. Wind gusts anywhere in the 20s and low 30s. And then, as I mentioned, we'll swap to out of the northwest later tonight, just a few hours from now when that front passes, and we'll stay gusty for the majority of tomorrow, especially in the morning and early afternoon for a good majority of northern Michigan, but especially along and west of I-75. If you're in those snowbelt regions, you can see the snow accompanied by as much as 30-mile-per-hour wind gusts, but generally I think we'll stay in the mid-20s, so not quite as windy tomorrow, but still pretty windy, enough to cause low visibility when compounded with the snow, which we will see more of. There's the look around radar right now. Most of the northern lower is dry, with the exception of the tip of the mid. Along those winter weather advisory counties that I mentioned, and into the eastern upper, the snow is beginning to taper off. The system snow is beginning to taper off, and you can see we're already starting to transition over to more lake effect snow this evening, especially in the northern half. For the remainder of tonight, that will continue to change over to lake effect snow, and by tomorrow morning, you'll see a lot of that in the northwest snowbelt regions, and you will continue to see a lot of that throughout the day. I think the majority of our snow will stay in the eastern upper, and you cannot discount the possibility that any region inside the northwest snowbelt areas could see as much as 6 inches or more tomorrow. But outside of that, I don't think we'll see a whole lot, especially if you're far west of 75, close to the shoreline. I don't think we'll end up seeing a whole lot. And then by Thursday, we'll break into, there it is, look at that, the sunshine, no more gray. It looks like we'll get a lot of sunshine on Thursday. Snowfall forecast for the remainder of tonight, up to 3 inches possible in the eastern upper once we turn over to lake effect snow. And then, as I mentioned, the northwest snowbelt regions could see as much as 6+ inches, even in the northern lower, even though it doesn't show it on the forecast there. Thursday and Friday are the sunniest days by far this week before clouds return for the weekend. Tonight, 9 to 27. System exits east with lake effect snow filling in behind that. Still gusty tonight and tomorrow for our Wednesday, and more lake effect snow, especially in the snowbelt regions. Thursday and Friday, quiet, warm, and sunny, and then the weekend, some more snow returns on the second half towards Groundhog Day.
All right, thanks so much, Trevor. We are going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back with Sports Director Harrison Beebe in just a few minutes. Stay with us. Well, Tuesdays tend to be pretty busy nights for high school basketball across northern Michigan. And for more on that, let's check in with sports director Harrison Beebe, who is live at a game right now. Hey, Harrison.
I am. Stepping away for a few minutes to touch base with you. I'm at Traverse City Central, and I'm reminiscing a little bit. I'm in the bowels of the building. We're kind of right outside the gym because I know it's pretty loud in there when we do these live reports. Fun fact, I actually ran a 2-mile indoor track race right in this hallway here about 20 years ago to school.
Interesting.
Yeah, I know the viewers are probably like, where did you pull that story from? But just reminiscing on good times in this hallway. But I'm here tonight covering the Trojans. Interesting TC Central girls basketball season. They're perfect in conference, I believe 6-0, but they're 0-5 out of conference, and that's who they're playing tonight. Is Sault Ste. Marie, a pretty good Sault Ste. Marie team. And as I glance at the scoreboard here, we've got a 30-22 lead at just about halftime here. So it looks like Central is on their way to getting that first non-conference win, but a full half of basketball to go. And Sault Ste. Marie is a pretty good team, so we'll see how the second half goes. And then I'm going to jump over to Traverse City St. Francis. The Gladiator boys team is at home taking on Big Rapids. That's another good team from that. So we got all kind of the region covered. We got Sault Ste. Marie from the north, Big Rapids from the south.
There you go.
And then they're converging here in Traverse City, right conveniently where our studios are and where I ran that historic 2-mile 20 years ago.
So I'm confused. Was there actually a track inside?
So it was what they call an indoor meet. It wasn't an official track meet. It was kind of like a prep, like exhibition track race. But we had schools here, and we had a few different ones. And yeah, they measured out a 2-mile distance. I think it added up to 20 laps around the gym here.
Oh.
And
That does not sound very fun, running that far on the gym floor.
Well, especially indoors, it's tough, that distance to
on your
breathe
shins,
indoors.
especially.
Yeah. But I made it, and I made it unscripted. So
yep, live to tell the tale. All right, thanks, Harrison. We will see highlights from those games tonight during sports at 11, but let's take another quick commercial break. We will look at our final live results for a question of the day coming up next.
Salon services are furnished by Epiphany Advanced Academy in East Acme.
Taking a live look now at our question of the day results. Do you agree with the Trump administration's order to pause all federal loans and grants? 59% say no, 41% say yes. We have 567 votes, and we have about 250 comments. I'm only going to read a few. You can join the conversation on our Facebook page. But David says, we support the pause. We must review everything our tax money is going to. It may be short-term financial strain, but it is necessary. I'm just kind of summarizing because, again, almost 250 comments. Olga says, yes, they have to sort through so many programs to make sure they're working their way through, and they should stop the ones that are wasting money. Kira says this will have a devastating effect on our healthcare and education systems. And Tony says it appears that he is not willing to do the work of deciding what works and what does not. The same way he did not bother to review people who should have been pardoned. He's an all or nothing kind of person. Again, join the conversation on our Facebook page. This really has the people talking. But that'll do it for Unscripted tonight. Thanks so much for joining us. Take care, everyone.